Hello, Stampin' Buddies. It's Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. Oh, it's a little after midnight, so we are technically in Monday. I started putzing around with this card on Sunday, and I didn't end up doing what I actually thought I was going to do. Let me turn down the volume on my other device so I can see if anybody's joining me. So originally I was going to use this Thoughtful Expressions stamp set because I like things with hummingbirds. Florals, I know some people like florals, some people think there's too many florals, but I really like the hummingbird. And I had actually prepped kind of a card using the dies here. But with this being on the last chance list, I discovered that the dies were no longer available. So I scrapped that idea thinking, well, if somebody doesn't have the dies, what good does it do for me to do a project using the dies if you can't get them? So I'm just using this stamp set. But then there is another die set from this Thoughtful Wishes stamp set. This is gone, but the dies are available. So I'm using just this foliage piece and this floral piece here because I really like how those look. Stampin' Up's had a few stamp or die sets that have similar foliage pieces, and they really attract my attention. I really like those. So let me quickly get a little cough drop here. Hopefully I won't cough on everything tonight. I'm fine until I start talking. And then I think it's just a matter of my throat must just get too dry. And I'm going to try to straighten this out a little bit. I wonder if that'll work, if I went the right way. A little crooked. I'm also going to be using this Thoughtful Journey 6x6 Designer Series paper. I have used this a few times recently, but they're kind of abstract nature pieces. And I think the paper is just very pretty. So I'm using a piece of that as well. But I'm going to use it in an unconventional way. So, sketches, templates. I'm loosely going to follow this one, I think. And what I'm going to do, and you'll see, but this layer here, I'm actually going to have kind of shifted to the left. And it's actually going to be some die cuts. And then, so that'll be one of my die cuts. And I guess we're kind of, I don't know, maybe following this one. I mean, these sketches are so general that you can really apply the inspiration to anything you're doing. So I'm really not following this one super close, but it's probably the closest one to what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a piece of Strawberry Slush. This is a new in color. I've got this at 8.5 by 5.5, and I score it in the middle at 4.25. And we're going to use our bone folder and just burnish that edge so that the card stays closed for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Strawberry Slush and I'm just going to make some subtle images on my card. Now when I took out my stamp set, I opened it up and I realized I had not used any of these stamps, which is really a shame because I bought it because I really loved it, loved the sentiments. But then you get things and you get sidetracked, or at least I do, and then I forgot I have these things and I don't end up using them. So I hadn't put the stickers on these. I know a lot of people like to use their red rubber stamps with no sticker. I don't. I have to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to mount this one quick. And what I do, you can see where I took it out of the red rubber square, whatever, that it comes shipped in. And then I'm taking off this whole sticker. So the sticker's like this. I'm peeling the whole sticker off. And for me, because I don't usually keep my fingernails very long, I am just going to flip up a couple of these corners so it's going to be easier for me to lift those off later. And I'm going to put the sticker on my block, and then I'm going to take those pieces off. I'm going to line this piece up to match the shape, right? Hopefully you can see this. And then what I do is I just look over the top and I line it up where it needs to be, and I mount my stamp. Okay, and then when I'm ready to peel it off, I just make sure I get my fingernail or something else under there, and then I will just lose my stamp. I will put it on my clothing to kind of pick up a little bit of lint, and then they're a little easier to work with because the cling stickum is really strong. And good thing I wasn't going to use that stamp. Here we go. It bounced. I couldn't find it. So maybe I will use it now that I found it. All right. So the cling is just really clingy. So just know that. And like I said, I just kind of, you know, put it on my clothes. And then they're a little bit easier to take off. All right. So there's my helpful tip for the day. How to mount your red cling stamps. All right. So let's take a look at this. This is a hummingbird that I think is absolutely beautiful. And I did color one and I die cut it, but that's before I decided I wasn't going to use that stamp set. So here's what it looks like in the strawberry slush. All right. And I think I'll go ahead and use this as my scrap. So all I'm going to do is ink this up. And I'm going to stamp it off because it's really pretty bright. And then I'm going to put our hummingbird right on the card. Okay. And I usually just let it sit for a little bit. Now, you know, sometimes I'll use my piercing mat. And that's when I'm using photopolymer stamps because they don't have a foam cushion to help absorb at all. These red rubber ones have that foam in there, so you don't need your piercing mat. All right. So there's my hummingbird. That's going to be it for that. And then I'm going to take this floral and foliage piece, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to stamp it off because I just want it to be kind of subtle on my card. And then I'm just going to turn it so I'm just getting some flowers here, but not the stem at all. Okay. So that's just some subtle background work there. Okay. Now, let's get that ink out of the way. So I told you I was going to do some unconventional die cutting. And with this set and that designer series paper, which is Thoughtful Journey, all right, I ran this die right on the designer series paper. All right. And look at how pretty that is with just a variegated look to it. Very different from what it would look like as a piece of designer series paper. So I'm going to use one of these on my card. And this piece in white. All right. So with the magic of our YouTube Live here, I already have these die cut. Okay. Now I did these on different angles on my paper. So let's just pull in. What did I do with my card? There it is. Whew. I don't know if I like this better or this better. I think I kind of like, I think I like the one with more of the color. So we'll save this one for another project. So this is going to go here. And this is going to go here, like the hummingbird is going into the flowers. And then we're just going to do a sentiment. All right, so I'm going to use this Enjoy Your Day. Okay, so this is, aside from the die cutting, it's really just stamp ink and paper, right? And again, my hummingbird and my flowers are just supposed to be very subtle. So the other thing that I'm doing here is I'm using the perennial postage dies for my sentiment piece. But there's a twist because the sentiment that I'm using is rectangular, right? Well, the perennial postage stamps, let me get this out of the way, doesn't have a rectangle that fit my sentiment. So how do you get it like this? I'm going to show you. So we're going to take this die here, okay, and we're going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to get our little Bessie, I think. I think we'll just do the little one tonight because this is a small enough die. So I need another cutting plate. There we go. So we need our base, we need a cutting plate, and I know this isn't big enough, it doesn't matter because we're going to cut some of this off. So I'm just going to put this through. Now because this is a squared off piece, I don't want to put my die in straight because the machine's going to fight all the bulk from having that straight die. So when I put my die in, I want it to lead with a corner. All right, so let's put this over here. We're going to put a top plate on here and we're going to run this through. And sometimes you can hear your machine creaking. Don't worry, that's normal, okay? That's why we have cutting plates, because those dies are cutting into that cutting plate. All right, so then what we're going to do, so here's our piece, right? And it came out of the paper, but I want to have it rectangular. So I'm going to move this over here until it's kind of to the position I want. And then I'm going to line it up in the edges that have already been cut. Now this one was a little temperamental when I did it during my warm-up, I guess we could call it. So I'm going to use some washi tape and kind of hold the die in place so I don't get some wonky cuts on the side. All right. So what I need to do is line it up in the teeth and just tape it. And then over here, I want to line it up in the teeth and tape it. All right. And then we're going to run this through the die machine again. All right. And you can make banners, squares, rectangles, kind of whatever size you need them by being creative with your dies. All right, so that piece I don't need, but now this piece, we're going to peel this off. And look at that. All right. So now you have a rectangle when there was not a rectangle of the size I needed in this die set. Okay. So that's all I'm going to die cut now because I have these other pieces already done. So let's get little Betsy out of the way. And we'll get the dies out of the way. Oh, and I just noticed that's really pretty too on the other side of the paper. Okay. So let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. And I'm going to do that in the Memento Tuxedo Black. So that's a Memento. I always store mine upside down because the foam is here, so you want it upside down so the ink goes to the top of your pad. So it's always ready. And I want to make sure that I don't have any ink on the edges to create a halo. Now I can see that the sentiment is very near the top rather than per the sticker where it's in the middle. So I'm going to line up the top of my red rubber to where I want it, and hopefully it'll be straight. That works. Works for me. All right, so now all we're gonna do is put this together, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue, our Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue, on some of these thicker strands here. I don't want to have it glued all the way flat because part of the appeal is having those cutout pieces up a little bit. And I see one little piece that wasn't punched out. So I'm going to put this like this, kind of arc around our hummingbird. And then this piece we'll put on as well with a little bit of glue. Maybe. There we go. A little glue goes a long way, so you don't need much. And let's see where our sentiment is going to go, because I want to cover up the bottom of this stem. But I kind of want it to look like the hummingbird is going into one of the flowers. So we're going to do that there, I think. And we'll do that like that, so we can see everything. And then I'm going to put these up on dimensionals. And I'm just going to use 3 of these. Normally I would only use 2 because it's not that big a piece, but that'll help hold some of these pieces as well. All right. So that can just kind of go there, I guess. And then we have a couple of different new embellishments. So these are the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink gems. There's like a gold metallic thread in them. You probably can't see that, but there's like some kind of glittery stuff in there. Or we have these flatter dots. These are the in color flat pearls. So these new products, the Strawberry Slush stuff that I'm showing, these embellishments, these are going to be available with the new catalog May 6th. All right. So we have to decide, do we want to use these bold, shiny ones? I'm thinking not. I'm going to go with these. And I'm going to use these more clear ones just because they're going to pick up the color from the paper as well. I use my Take Your Pick tool and just push them off the plastic. And then one of these, I think, will kind of maybe tuck under there. So that'll be just kind of a subtle little bling. So pretty simple. I mean, I could have dressed it up with more layers, but sometimes less is more, right? And we'll get these put away. And I've mentioned before in some of my videos, I like to avoid using the adhesive that's on the back of these packets because I usually fumble with it. So I open it once and then I just take my little ruler and I slice from the top down to the side and I open up that side so I can just slide them out. I'm left-handed, so I always slide things out to the left. All right, so that's it. That's our card for tonight. Kind of simple. Last chance items though. So we've got these dies. These are the Thoughtful Wishes dies. We have the Thoughtful Expressions cling stamp set. These I believe are both marked down, but being on the last chance list, when the new catalog comes in, these items are not in the new catalog. They're not carrying over. So when they're gone, they're gone. So if they sell out, Stampin' Up! Is not going to get any more. Okay. And then this is one of the new colors, Strawberry Slush. And these embellishments are new. You can't order those yet. You won't be able to order those till May 6th. So that's what I have for you tonight. Hopefully you get some ideas from this, even if you don't make this particular card. Hopefully it will inspire you to create something on your own. So until next time, happy stamping.